Welcome to Take a Timeout with Dustin Sullivan. This podcast is proudly brought to you by the Can Do Group, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to empowering adults with developmental disabilities. We're thrilled to have you join us for another inspiring episode. Now, here's Dustin to kick things off.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dustin Sullivan. Today, my guest is a former NFL quarterback and a current offensive coordinator for the St. Louis BattleHawks of the United Football League, Mr. Bruce Gradkowski. Bruce, thank you so much for joining us today. It's an honor to have you on the show.
Absolutely, Dustin. No, thanks for having me, brother.
It's nice interviewing a former football player.
I like that. I like the T-shirt you got on today. Are you a big Steelers fan? Is that your number one team?
Yep, I love the Steelers.
I don't know. It's generational for you, right?
Yeah.
Dad and Grandpa.
Yeah.
Goes way back.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, and you're from Findlay, Ohio, so I was gonna ask if it was Ben Roethlisberger that got you to be a fan, but it was probably before that with your grandparents and your parents.
I like the Steel Curtain.
Oh,
That they were the beasts. That was one of the greatest defenses ever played.
it was amazing. Anytime I played and I had to play against the Steelers, that's when I was like, oh man, this defense, like they're always like the Dick LeBeau defense. They're always going to be tough, physical, blitzes coming from everywhere. So you knew you'd always have to have your head on a swivel and have your protections down anytime you played against the Steelers defense.
They were good. What can you tell us about the UPS? What can you tell us about the ups and downs of your experience in high school football as a young player eager to play college ball? And why did you choose Toledo?
Yeah, I think that's a great question because I talk to a lot of high school athletes now, and I try to encourage them about battling adversity and how do you overcome adversity. And I listen to Kobe Bryant, all his messages, and how he talked about failure doesn't exist. The only way it exists is if you don't learn something from it. And I think when I was in high school and I look back to my journey, I think it was the adversity that actually helped me get to where I am today, and I think it's the ones that know how to handle and overcome challenges are the ones that are going to end up being successful, because a lot of times in those moments, people either tap out or quit or it gets too hard. And I found that if you just stay consistent at something, and it's just one step in front of the other. The saying, Dustin, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And at times things could look overwhelming, but if we just take that single step at a time, things tend to work itself out. And I look at my high school career and journey, I wasn't highly recruited. I had a few 1AA offers, and I was actually committed to Eastern Kentucky before Toledo called. And Eastern Kentucky offered me a full ride, a full scholarship, and I was happy with that. My parents couldn't afford for me to go to college, so I was like, great, I have a free ride to college. I'll play football. And Toledo called and wanted me to walk on, and I was like, Coach, I appreciate it, but I have a full ride to Eastern Kentucky. And it was funny. They came and watched me play basketball, and Dustin, I have a little athleticism to me. I was a hooper as well. And they saw that. I was athletic. And then Toledo offered me a scholarship. And from there, I knew that was the right spot. I went on a visit, beautiful campus. And now it's amazing to see how God works and steers things, because Toledo is our home. And it all started back in 2001 when they recruited me. And I'm very thankful how things worked out.
And Kobe Bryant was a good guy.
Oh, man.
Go here. He's a great guy.
He was one of the best. I love listening, and I'll show our players. Now coaching in the UFL, I show our players a lot of his talks and speeches, because I don't think there's anyone out there that outworked Kobe Bryant.
No. When you were at the University of Toledo, What was it like balancing the demands of the classroom with the demands of the gridiron?
You just always had to make sure you kept your priorities straight. And in college, that can be tough at times, because now you're away from home. There's no one telling you to get to bed or eat this or how you should act and so forth. So I knew what I wanted. I knew my goals. So that really helped me focus in and have my priorities straight. And I knew if I didn't do well in school, I wasn't able to be on the football field. So I knew I had to take care of my classroom work first. And I also knew my mom would always say, growing up, you always have to have a backup plan. And I knew I wanted to go to the NFL, but I also knew the possibilities of that happen were very low. It was slim, so I wanted to make sure to get my degree from Toledo and do well. And so I always think number one is you prioritizing. School and football were 1 and 2 for me. So I knew I had to take care of that. So the rest just fell into place. And, what helps with that too is surround yourself with the right people. I had some good roommates like Lance Moore, if you remember him, our big time receiver. Yeah. Trinity Dawson, Jason Flowers. So those are my best friends in college that really held me accountable. And we helped each other out to get our degree, do well on the football field, and at the same time stay out of trouble to do the right things.
What's it like being a offensive coordinator for the BattleHawks? What's it like?
Oh, it's awesome. It's amazing. It's been a lot of great experiences. With me having the opportunity to install my own offense and what that would look like. Playing football is one thing, but now organizing your meetings and installations and your playbook and, everything that goes along with it. It was a lot. So it was great experience going through that, knowing how would I construct my offense? What would it look like? What's our top priorities as an offensive unit? And who do you want to have under center as your quarterback? I think that all starts with the quarterback. And so a lot of good learning lessons throughout the UFL. It's been a great stepping stone for me, and I'm excited to see what the future holds.
And I like the new rule that 1, 2, 3, the point thing.
Oh, right. Where you can't kick the extra point. So you're right. You have to go for either one pointer from the 2-yard line. You got a 3-pointer or 2-pointer from the 5-yard line and a 3-pointer from the 10. So every week, Dustin, is a lot of game planning for those 2-point, 3-point conversions on the 5, 10-yard line. So because that's what a lot of our games came down to. So the situational football is pretty cool in the UFL, and that's helped a ton.
They should put that in the NFL rules.
For sure. I mean, just like they changed the kickoff in the NFL, I think that makes the game so much more interesting when teams actually have to go for it instead of kicking an extra point.
Where did that originate from? The 1, 2, 3, was that like a collaboration with the NFL or something the UFL put in just for excitement for the fans, or any idea?
I'm not sure where it originated from, but I think it all does stem from making games exciting and giving teams chances to come back to tie. My first year with the BattleHawks, we had to utilize a 3-point conversion. So we had to get a 3-point conversion from the 10-yard line. And then instead of an onside kick, the first year of the XFL, it was a 4th down and 15. So after we scored the touchdown, we got the 3-point conversion. We had to go for a 4th down and 14 or 4th down and 15. And if you get it, now you keep moving just like a 2-minute drill. So we got that. We kept moving, and we end up scoring to win the game. So those situational plays right there was huge for us. It gave us an opportunity down. I think it was 15 points coming down to the last 2 minutes of the game, and we were able to make it happen.
Could you imagine Mahomes at that ruling NFL? You'd probably thrive on that.
Who, Mahomes?
Yeah. How did you How did you ever get the offensive coordinator job for the BattleHawks?
So Anthony Beck and I, so Anthony Beck's the head coach for St. Louis. Him and I played together in Tampa. Anthony Beck's was a big tight end. Him and I became close. And then when he got the XFL head job, he called to let me know. And it was more of a congratulations, phone call. And then a week or two later, we hopped on the phone again and we started talking more about football. And it just organically grew into, hey, I was interviewing a few guys to be my offensive coordinator. What's your thoughts about that? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to talk to you about that. And that's kind of how it unfolded. So it was pretty cool how it kind of worked out, because Dustin, at times I feel like I stress and like press for things to happen. I got to make this work. I got to make this work. And a lot of times when I take a step back though, and I kind of let, have trust that God's going to work it out, it just organically works itself out. And I think in that situation with Beck, it just organically happened. And it's been a great opportunity these last 2 years.
He's a good guy.
So we're going to take our first timeout in the interview. We take 2 timeouts. First one, we'll do a fact of the day. Later on, we'll give you a trivia question. But our fact for the day is the concept of the audible, where the quarterback changes the play at the line of scrimmage based on the defensive setup, has been around for quite some time. However, it gained significant prominence in the late 20th century. While it's challenging to pinpoint the exact first team to use it, quarterbacks like Peyton Manning are well known for popularizing and refining the practice with their complex play calling systems. So our follow-up question to the fact of the day is,
could you do an audible for us? Let us hear what it sounds like and explain it.
Yes, sir. You got it. So John Gruden was big on audibles. So we'd have a lot of, checks. And one would be in the huddle. We call it the can package. Yeah. So I'd call 2 plays in the huddle at the same time. So I would say trips right, 3-jet all go special, can it with 358 cannon. So I just called 2 plays. So trips right, 3-jet all go special is the play that we're going to break the huddle and line up to run. But in the huddle, after I said that, I said trips right, 3-jet all go special, can it with 358 cannon. So the can means we break the huddle, we get the line. If I yelled can, that means the play now went to 358 cannon.
That makes sense.
So for the play call, I'd say, hey, trips right, 3-jet all go special, can it with 358 cannon on the dummy count. Ready, break. So we get to the line of scrimmage. I said dummy count. What a dummy count is, you don't jump, you don't move. I'm going on a fake cadence. Peyton Manning used this all the time. So I get to the line, blue 85 said, hut. So now I see what the defense is doing. So now we talk about our cans. What play did we like versus what coverage?
Yeah.
So if I get to the line of scrimmage and I see it's a single high zone coverage or it's cover 2, I'm good to run my first play. But now all of a sudden, say I get a blitz and, Greg Williams is trying to heat you up and he's coming with an all-out blitz. Now I can go can. I can it to 358 cannon. 358 to us back in Tampa Bay was a 7-man full slide protection where the tight end and running back stayed in. Now on this play called cannon, it was X sluggo, which means X had a slant and go, and F, our slot receiver, ran a seam, and then Z was on a smash hitch route. So if I got all out 0, can, now I'm going to work actually my F on the seam on the bender route versus cover 0. So that's the thought process that's going through a quarterback's mind. You call 2 plays in the huddle, you get to the line of scrimmage, and you go on a dummy count. So then you see what the defense is, how they're going to line up, and then you call the play based on what the defense shows you. And it doesn't have to be just a play, versus cover 0 that you can it. It could be, hey, versus cover 2, we like this first play. But if it's single high, 1 safety, can it to this other play. So that's kind of how the can audible has worked in the NFL.
That Williams guy is a pretty good. The guy you're talking about is a good defensive coordinator.
Yeah,
Right.
he is. He does a good job. We beat him twice this year with the BattleHawks in DC, but
I like John Gruden too. Chucky was a good guy.
I learned a lot of good football. So quick story, Dustin. I get drafted in 2006.
Yeah.
I'm at my parents' house back in Pittsburgh. I'm sitting on the front porch with my cousin Ralph, and we're just sitting on the swing. Beautiful day in Pittsburgh. It's Friday night when the draft started. I thought, I'm for sure going in this third round probably at some point. Well, back then, the first 3 rounds were on Friday night. So the third round ends, I don't get picked. But I saw a lot of other quarterbacks go off the draft board, and I'm like, cool. I'm like right around where they said I would go as far as the list of quarterbacks. So the 4th round starts the next morning, and the Eagles are on the clock. And I had a meeting with Andy Reid at the combine, and I'm thinking to myself, cool, Andy Reid's going to draft me. And I remember at the combine, Andy Reid's meeting with me, and he's sitting back in his chair. He's eating a bag of potato chips, and he's like, who's that coach of yours again at Toledo? And at that time, it was Tom Amstutz. And he's like, I like that guy. And the meanwhile, Andy Reid's eating potato chips as kind of the crumbs are getting on his shirt, and he's just kind of wiping them off, and just a real down-to-earth guy. And so I thought for sure the Eagles were going to draft me. Well, that didn't happen. Then the Steelers are up in the 4th round again. They don't draft me. 5th round comes by. They don't draft me. And then the 6th round, at this point, I'm just like, man, well, at this point, I just have to make a football team. And so I go up in my bedroom. I'm like, Mom, I'm going upstairs for a while. So I go upstairs. Next thing you know, she comes running up the steps, and she's shaking, and she's like, it's Tampa Bay. And she hands me the phone, and it was John Gruden. He said, Bruce, we don't care what pick this is. This is a great pick for us. I said, Coach, just give me the freaking Tampa.
Yeah.
Because I was so excited in that moment that I knew I had to go compete and make the team.
Yeah.
Nothing was going to be handed to me. So, and I learned so much good football from John Gruden. He's a great teacher. That's why I was able to start 11 games as a rookie once Chris Sims got hurt. So, but a lot of studying, a lot of late nights trying to learn that offense.
Yeah.
And Dustin, there was this one play call that would keep me up at night because I didn't want to, stumble over my words in the huddle. So I'm with veterans like Joey Galloway, Mike Allstott. We talked about Anthony Beck. So I'm in the huddle, and I'm like, listen, I'm not stumbling over my words. I'm going to know these plays inside and out. But one night we had this one play that I was like, ooh, that's a tough play call. So I was up to like 2 a.m. trying to memorize this play call.
That's crazy.
And so the play call was Indy right 10, X short, fake 96 power king, naked left X slide. On one, ready, break.
That is a tough play.
Can you repeat it?
No,
Now you know why the quarterback's the hardest position to play, and they got to have such a high Wonderlic score.
now I know why it drives them crazy.
So, Bruce, you've mentioned several players and coaches you played with. Are there any other legendary coaches or players that you worked with in the NFL that had an influence on you and your work ethic?
Yeah, I think Tampa Bay learned a lot of good football from John Gruden. Paul Hackett was my quarterback coach. Paul Hackett was a great coach, great guy. And then when I look forward a little bit, when I got to the Raiders, Tom Cable was the head coach at the time. He gave me a great opportunity. Paul Hackett, once again, was my quarterback coach, and Ted Toner was our offensive coordinator. Those 3 guys really helped rejuvenate my career in that moment. And then when I went to Cincinnati with Marvin Lewis, I thought Marvin Lewis is a great leader. And then I finished my career in Pittsburgh with the Steelers with Mike Tomlin. And I think Tomlin's a great leader. He has some great standards there. He knows how to lead men. And it was a great experience. And I learned a lot just about culture building and build the right culture and team to build success. So I think when I think about it in just the X's and O's standpoint, I learned a ton from Gruden. And then when you talk about culture and things of that sort with Marvin Lewis and Mike Tomlin towards the end of my career, I learned a ton.
Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season.
Isn't that insane to think about?
It is. He's great.
Who do you think is going to be the quarterback this year for the Steelers?
It's going to be Russell Wilson for a couple games, but then Fields will take over.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I think Russell Wilson deserves to be the starter. He's still got it. He can still play good. I think Russell Wilson is going to get back to when he first came in the league.
That would be nice if he could get back to playing that way like he did in Seattle. And, at that point, Seattle had a good running game. They had a good defense. The Steelers, with TJ Watt, they should have a pretty good D, and hopefully that helps him out.
Yeah. after all the games you've been there, they're all the teams you played for, who was one of your favorite teammates?
That's a great question because there were so many guys that have impacted my career in a big way, in a positive way. I think of Joey Galloway. When I was in Tampa,
I like Joey Galloway.
He's a good dude. And I'll tell you what, Dustin, I get to Tampa fresh out of Toledo, no money in the bank. And I remember at the time, Joey Galloway, I didn't have a car. I was staying in a hotel. And Joey Galloway said, here, you could drive this around in the meantime. And he flipped me his keys to his Jaguar.
That's awesome.
So I was like, oh, you're the best. I'll throw you the football when I get in.
Yeah, one of the greatest Buckeye wide receivers.
He was.
From Bel Air, Ohio.
Yep, he was a beast.
He still runs sprints all the time.
Yeah, and he's on sports too. He's on one of the sports shows.
Yeah, he does a good job on ESPN.
Looks like he can still play, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he does.
Andy Reid seems like he's a really athletic guy.
Andy Reid.
Yeah.
He looks like he's athletic enough to eat like 5 cheeseburgers at once.
One of those punt, pass, and kick things.
Oh, he was a beast back in the day.
Yeah.
He's awesome, though, as far as like a coach and building the right culture and stuff.
Yeah. Who had the toughest defense you ever faced?
The Steelers were always tough when we had to face them. When I was playing for the Cleveland Browns, that was the year the Steelers went to the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl. So that was a tough defense. You're playing at Heinz Field back then. And then they play the Renegade song and the crowd's going nuts. The terrible towels waving. So I always think of the Steelers defense. The Baltimore Ravens, that division was always tough.
The Bengals had a pretty good defense too.
Yeah, the Bengals. And when I played for the Bengals, Mike Zimmer was the defense coordinator. So we had a good, tough defense.
Great coach, Mike Zimmer.
He is.
So we're going to take our second timeout now and get to the trivia question of the day, Bruce. And this one ties into you being born and raised in Pittsburgh. So we're going to test your knowledge of random facts from Pittsburgh. So held annually on the Saturday before Halloween, what bicycling event takes riders up and over 13, not 12, of the steepest hills around Pittsburgh?
Oh, man. I'm not good at games like this. What is that?
It's called the Dirty Dozen.
Oh, I might have to try that one year.
I never knew that event existed, but must be a fairly common occurrence in Pittsburgh annually, right before Halloween. So that would be a tough ride, wouldn't it? The hills in Pittsburgh are pretty serious.
Oh, for sure. Especially before Halloween, before we crush all that candy. That's not a bad idea.
What was the most memorable moment in your football career?
the most memorable moment was probably in 2009. I was playing for the Oakland Raiders, and we went back to Heinz Field and beat the Steelers. And I threw a touchdown to Lewis Murphy with like 9 seconds remaining for the win. That was like an unbelievable atmosphere, because a few years before that, the 2 previous years, I got my butt whooped by the Steelers defense. You know, when I was with Tampa Bay and then I was with the Cleveland Browns. So, you know, you figure the third time's a charm. And I remember that game against the Steelers in 2009 when I was with the Raiders. It was going back and forth. It was like a low scoring game. It was 9-6, like all game. And then the fourth quarter, it just, we scored, they scored, we scored, they scored. And then we had to go down and we scored the game winner. But it was an exciting fourth quarter and one of the most memorable games of my career.
I'll tell you what, football now, NFL is getting more exciting. All the good quarterbacks.
Who's your favorite quarterback out there right now?
I'm a Steelers fan, but I like Joe Burrow.
Yeah, Burrow's tough. I know that's tough being a Steelers fan and having Burrow in the same division.
And Lamar.
Yeah,
Lamar. And the Browns have a decent quarterback too.
Yep. But I think Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, those are the 2 you worry about, you know, for the Steelers.
Yeah. Nick Chubb worries me on the Browns. That guy's a beast.
Well, now he's going to be out 4 games to start the season, so we got a little time before he gets going.
And Najee's a good running back too.
He's tough.
Yeah, he is. What would be your message to young athletes?
My message to young athletes, especially the youth, you know, I have 3 kids, 11, 9, and 7. I encourage them to do it all right now. Play as many sports as you can. Get acclimated to different sports, and because one helps the other. You know, if you're playing football, it's going to help you on a basketball court. It's going to have your hand-eye coordination in baseball. Like all that stuff helps one another. So I encourage kids to do as much as they can now. And number 2, though, like I really want to encourage kids that to handle adversity, you know, like handle those tough moments, like be conscious about how you're reacting in those moments and look at that as like an opportunity to try to learn from something to get better, because it's almost like the quicker you fail is the quicker you'll become successful. You know, it's almost inevitable. You're going to hit that roadblock. Well, if I can hit that roadblock now, sooner rather than later, now I can really spring forward to help me become successful. So I think those, but I was just telling my sons yesterday, Roman and Lincoln, I said, guys, if you can remember 2 things, I'm only asking you remember 2 things. If anyone asks you, hey, this is what my dad cared about. Number 1 is be respectful. And what does that look like? When your teacher's talking, when your coach is talking, you look them in the eye. You know, when a classmate at school needs help, you help them out. You know, be respectful, number 1. And number 2, work hard. You know, I feel like a lot of times we want things handed to us. But if you learn how to work hard, then the sky's the limit to what you can achieve, because you know, no one can hold you back, or if something gets taken from you, you'll understand how to work hard and try to get more of it. Or, you know, so I think those are 2 big things. I just had a talk with my 9 and 7-year-old yesterday. Like, all right, what do I really want to get through to these guys? Cause they don't listen to me often. And if they can remember 2 things, it's, hey, Roman, Lincoln, be respectful and work hard. That's 2 things I just want you to do. The rest, just have fun. Enjoy all the ice cream during the summer. And
that sounds like a cool idea. Tell us about your restaurant. What else are you working on these days?
Yeah, so I had 3 restaurants at one point, and you know, after I finished playing, I felt like, you know what, I have to kind of streamline a little bit. You know, I wasn't in the day-to-day in the restaurant working. And I really believe if you want to make something successful and go, you have to be a part of it every day. So what happened was I closed one restaurant down that was in St. Louis area. I sold the one on campus, Gradkowski's, and then I socialed the one in Perrysburg I met you at. That one burnt down two years ago. We had this huge fire and just burnt to the ground. Thankfully, no one was injured. But, you know, since then, Dustin, I've kind of stayed away from restaurants. I've just been trying to develop some things on the leadership side with this website, the alpha5method.com. And just really coaching football and helping coach, you know, my kids in their sports with flag football and basketball. So just staying busy in that stuff, but also knowing like I just want to be a resource for kids on their journey because I know what it takes to, you know, to get to the NFL, but not only the NFL, just to be successful in whatever you want to achieve. And I think that's important to life and to have a vision. So those are the things I'm working on now.
If you could go back and change one thing in your life, what would it be?
You know, to be honest, nothing. I just feel like because maybe if there was a tough time and whatnot, you know, you learn from it and it's helped me to this day. Sometimes, Dustin, to be honest, I'd go back to the end of my NFL career and always having the consistent and same work ethic, no matter how long you've been around, no matter how many years you've played, no matter how good you are at a sport or your job, is to never get complacent. And I think that's what kind of hurts us all at times. If we get complacent and comfortable, that can hurt. But, you know, other than that, I just really think everything in life has happened, you know, for the good to help propel us forward into the future.
Are you still doing podcasts these days?
Yeah, I'm doing some podcasts. You know, I built this course online to help people achieve success, you know, figure out what they want in life and to figure out how to achieve it. So I've been working on that the last 2 years. And then other than that, coaching the BattleHawks.
That's awesome.
Can you give us your website again, where you find that?
Yeah, it's the alpha5method.com. So alpha, ALPHA, the number 5 method.com.
And my final question for you. Do you consider a hot dog a sandwich?
Do I consider a hot dog a sandwich?
Yeah.
No. Do you?
Why don't you consider it a sandwich?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know what I think of it as. My wife doesn't let me eat hot dogs anymore. So, but I don't know. What would it be? Like a sub? I was going to say I can tweet that question out there and get some responses for you.
That'd be great.
Cause that's a good question. That's interesting and also confusing at the same time.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to answer.
He's got you thinking about all this stuff, doing awesome. Then he asks you about a hot dog.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, Bruce, we really appreciate you taking time to do an interview with Dustin today. And
I appreciate it.
We wish you all the best with the BattleHawks as well as your business you're building there with the website, and keep doing great things.
Yeah, no, thanks, guys. Thanks, Dustin. Thanks for thinking of me and having me on.
It's a pleasure.
You know, we'll be rooting for those Steelers together this year. Hopefully they can put it together and make a run in these playoffs.
I want to be rooting for the BattleHawks.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for joining today's podcast of Take a Timeout with Dustin Sullivan, a production of Can Do Group. This podcast is made possible by the support of local businesses and community members like you. Thank you. Do you have a sports story to share that is linked to Ohio in some way? Do you know somebody in sports, whether it's a backyard hero, behind-the-scenes guru, or a superstar like Dustin's dream guest, LeBron James? If so, please give us a call at 419-425-2638. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.